Randy, give us 1 second. We're going to get this shared out to the rest of the group here. And we'll get started talking about our subject of the evening. Oh, my phone is buzzing. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. You hear them?
Your kids are adorable.
Don't go. We can't live without you. As she says, I'll see you tomorrow. Because tomorrow is so far away. It's a whole sleep.
Yeah.
The small things in life. All right. We have people invited. So let me go back out here. All right. So as, again, welcome this evening. Thank you for your patience. We are getting up and running. And I want to let you know that I am watching it on my phone so that as you comment, Brandy's laughing as well at my daughter. So yes. As you comment, we will be able to see your comments. We will be able to see your questions. And then we can get those responses to you. And if you're watching the replay, just like the other day, if you have eye-opening experiences like Heather did, she had some things that she acknowledged and she kind of found out, or if you've got things that you've got questions about, we'll follow up with those tomorrow. So don't feel like you can't respond. Okay. So my name is Tiffany Hinton with GF Mom Certified. And Anita, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Anita Myers. I am a coach, a trainer, and a consultant. I provide life coaching and relationship coaching, and I work along the arenas of life management, dating and relationship purpose, and success, and mindful parenting. So I offer those types of services for anyone that's looking to improve and really level up their game in life and try to make their life get to a better place and get there faster. You're muted.
Intentionally. It's kind of, this is, we missed bedtime by about probably 20 minutes. We're a little delayed, so I do apologize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tonight we're talking about decluttering to de-stress your life. And I will kind of mute in between just in case there's some random people still getting up and down. So I know in the functional medicine world, they talk a lot about how when there's clutter in your life, it causes undue stress and it causes adrenal failure, but it can also cause physical ailments, right? And a lot of us understand when you think of the grief paradigm, where if we harbor grief or we harbor hatred, we end up with a physical ailment, whether it's, arthritis or something else presents itself and you have physical pain. But the same thing can happen when there's just clutter. And I am somebody that was raised by my mother and my grandmas on both sides, and both of my grandmas went through the Depression. So when you talk about clutter or you talk about somebody that had everything for every occasion in some closet somewhere, that is the world in which I lived. And that is what I try to overcome all the time, because I am somebody that holds on to things thinking that one day I'll use them, when in reality, I necessarily won't always use them. So don't think that just because we're talking about this that I'm perfect by any means, because I have to deal with this every day, which is why it's a great topic for me. But Anita, I want you to kind of share. I know you had some stuff put together for us tonight too. And I will talk about clutter in the diet and that as well. But do you want to talk about physical and mental clutter?
I do. Thank you,
I would
Tiffany.
love to hear that.
So for, the world that I live in, while I do live in the physical world, I also know that everything that we do stems from what our brain thinks about, what our brain is harboring. And, when we are spending our lives using our brain, sometimes we can get really lazy in how we can use it to be purposeful in our lives. Before we can go and actually take action on whatever we want to do, we have to get our mindset in a place that can be very strong. And what happens is when we talk about clutter in the house or in a room, imagine your brain loaded with clutter. And when I talk about that, I think, clutter, whenever we talk about, we think it's the physical stuff. It's not just physical stuff. It's the stuff that's happening in your mind. So I'll give you 3 things you could think about. One is old ideas that were there that really don't hold any space for you anymore. They shouldn't be in your mind anymore. It should be removed. So you've got these old ideas. You've got toxic relationships, girlfriends. We all have encountered friends, relationship people that are boyfriends, whatever, our families, whoever it is we meet, that, we sometimes hold on to the experiences of what had happened to us having a toxic relationship. We might still be in one right now. You might still be friends with someone who's incredibly toxic. You might still, you're related to someone that you have to see every so often that's incredibly toxic. While those influencers are there that bring this toxicity into your mind, you have to be able to generate enough power to know what you want to allow in your mind and what you want to let go of. So when it comes to toxic relationships, that's a no-no. They don't belong in here. They don't deserve any of that space, but it tends to clutter up a lot of our thinking because we think about how someone said something. And I know this firsthand because I have been in toxic relationships in my past. I've had one with my father, and you hear the echoes of certain things spoken to you that keep you and sabotage you from going after the thing that might be new that can help you, like clearing your own home, like going out and doing something good for yourself. So you get seized up. And the other thing is bad habits. We all got them bad habits. Those things clutter up and take up our space. They have no purpose really being in our lives, but we tend to fall prey to it. And when we do that, it occupies our time. So, there's a lot of tips out there of how people try to use their time wisely. But before we could even do that, and I'll get into much more a little bit later, but before we can do that, the one thing you want to do is identify at least these 3 things: that you've got some old ideas you don't need anymore. You've got some toxic relationships that either A, if they're no longer in your life, if they still bother you, if there's still memories that irritate you, if there's still words that keep you from moving forward, you need to address that. You need to look into that, and you need to clear out that space. Take that visual broom and just sweep it all out. And if it takes some work, sometimes you might need to get a certain tool and chisel some of that gook out of there. I know, I get it. It takes work, but you have people like us that can help you through that. And then lastly, of course, those bad habits, man, they're suckers. Those bad habits, I know I fall prey to it as well. But if we know that we've got it, we could take one at a time. Let's say I've got 5 bad habits. I could just go one at a time and start taking that big, unnecessary furniture item in my brain and get it out, sell it, give it to somebody else. We don't need it. It's not part of us. So I'll leave it at that. When it comes down to decluttering your home, imagine if you first decluttered your mind and cleared that space up, you're going to leave room for what? Really, really good, healthier thoughts that you can start doing more things. You'll get freedom and joy from that experience.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so true. You become present to what's going around you versus all of this stuff you're carrying around.
It weighs you down. It makes you want to take a nap. I bet you some people want to just get on that couch and go, I'm not doing anything. That's a good sign that you want to write that stuff down, get it out, and get yourself back up and go clean house. From here, inside out.
Yes, and we're gonna kind of jump back and forth a little bit between the mental and the physical and stuff like that. So I want to kind of give you an idea of, let's do 3 symptoms. Anita kind of did 3, so let's do 3 symptoms that potentially you need to clean up what you're eating or declutter what you're putting in your body. One might be that you've got bloating. Number 2, I would say, and Janelle's on, so she's going to laugh now, but I always have to talk about poop. She says in every video, so why not, right? So if your poop is either rabbit leg or floaters or just smells to high heaven, that is another sign that you've got to declutter what you're putting into your body. And then the third thing I would say is if you've just got nagging headaches, not all the time, not a migraine per se, but just kind of like this, whatever, like just a tingling in your head that's driving you crazy, right? Those would be 3 of the top signs that you might need to declutter something in your diet or something in the surroundings that you're putting into your body. All right, so, and again, you guys can rewatch this as much as you want. So if you want to take notes, go for it. And I'll just put up like 5 little poop emojicons because that's the way we communicate. So if you're on the Facebook group, you're like, what the heck? Yeah, that's our world. We are the mamas of the world. What happens, right? So let's talk a little bit about, Anita, how do you, once you know you have one of those, right? How do you start to process it? How do you start to release some of that clutter out of your mind?
And when you talk about if I have mental clutter, are you talking about
mental clutter?
One of the first things that I do when it's all about identification, because sometimes as moms and as women, because we harbor so many emotions, we can justify it, make excuses for it, instead of, just kind of suppress it. It's still there. So what I'd like to do is not do that and actually kind of pause myself for a moment, identify that I'm going through, this is what's going on with me. I got to hold myself accountable. I got to talk, I look at myself. This is going to sound like I have split personalities. I don't. I'm perfectly mentally healthy. However, there's the inner me, and then there's the grown-up me. There's a younger me, and then there's the grown-up me. And the younger me is like, nah. And the older me is like, listen, you know what you need to do. Here's the equation. So the easiest thing I can say is that when you first identify it, I kind of talked about this even yesterday with our topic from yesterday. But when you identify what's going on, the next thing I would recommend you do is, if it is weighing you hard, if it's a struggle, then I would write it down. I would get that information out. I would really work on, it's not just identifying it in your mind. You have to be able to take it out and put it in another place. So you want to write that down. For me, I highly recommend anyone, it doesn't matter how many projects you have. If you want to get a journal per project, then you do it. But get the thing that's going to make you feel really satisfied and just start writing. Here are my issues. Here are the things that are in my brain. I want to dump it out. In fact, when I work with clients, I require every client that ever works with me to obtain what's called a dump journal. We're talking about bowel movements for a moment. It's a dump journal. You got a lot of stuff in here and you got to get it all out. And when you can get it all out, just like if you're in the hospital and you, heaven forbid, you're sick, you see the doctor, they investigate what comes out of you to see what's happening with you, what viruses are in your system, and then they can determine what you've got and then help you. So in the same way, the verbal things that are in your mind, the memories, the bad habits, all those things, they're going to come out. And you can actually analyze this and take a look at it and say, you know what, this is unnecessary. I don't need this. This is a big issue I got to look at. But writing that stuff down, I think, is going to, I know, is a big game changer, because it won't be in your headspace anymore. It'll be on paper, and you could certainly throw it out and not look at it again. But that would be the first step that I'd want to take.
I love that. I love that for a couple of reasons. I love it because later on you can look back at it and look at how far you've come. And then I love that it is true. Once you write it down, you have a way to take action to it, whether it's scribble over it or tear it up, or it gives you some way to
burn it.
Right, to act on it. It's not like you're tearing out your hair anymore. I love that. So let's switch gears for a moment. So physical clutter, right? Magazines, newspapers, craft supplies, scrapbooking supplies. I know there's some people, you guys can like put thumbs ups or whatever you want on the video there. Like, we just kind of have this stuff hanging out places, right? For a lot of us, I always mention this because it's so common. Junk drawers in your kitchen. Like, how many of you have a junk drawer in your kitchen? It's got like markers and ink pens and random safety pins, or maybe it's got a hair bow from an outfit from a ballet dance 2 years ago, right? It's just got all this, and then there's crumbs, and there's like maybe some gum, maybe not, maybe it's just a gum wrapper. It's like this drawer of, I know there's a Phillips screwdriver in there, but I can't find it, right? So that is one of the areas that I love when I'm on stage to challenge people like to go through, because that's one of the areas in our home we eliminated. I took that junk drawer probably about 15 months ago, and I dumped it out on the floor, and decided that if it really belonged in the kitchen, it was a piece of silverware, it was a knife, or it was a utensil. And if it was none of those things, it shouldn't have been in the drawer in the kitchen to begin with. And if it didn't have a home, like the screwdriver went back into the toolbox, right? The art supplies and the paintbrushes went back to the art supply shelf. If it didn't have a home, I threw it in the trash can. And what that did is it got rid of that stressful moment when you were looking for that one item, because it was no longer mixed into all this other stuff. Do you have something like that, Anita, that you've done in your own space to kind of create some physical clearing?
Yeah, that's really funny. Once upon a time, I used to be called the bag lady in my house, because whenever things were around, like you look at your house and there are these, I'm gonna call them like avenues, pathways, okay? And for me, if I can't walk down a pathway without having to step over something or get something in my way, it really bothers me. I feel like, I learned the importance of being able to find a place. If you value it, then it should be respected, and give it a respectful place. You can still keep it, but give it a respectful place. So I used to just take everything and put them in garbage bags. And I'm like, and I'll look at it later, put it in a bag. Then there'd be like 5 bags in the house that we have to go through, and I'd be like, But what I've learned, I've changed since then. And I think that, there is an art of really honing in on your schedule for the day. That it was the simplest thing, that if you took 15 minutes out of your day just to dedicate, as a mother, you're picking things up off the floor, but you're also training your children. I don't know if you could train your spouse as well as you can train your child, but you're training the family to always take the time to put things back where they were, because they do it everywhere else, especially the kids. They do it everywhere else. When they're in school, they put it all back and then they go home. And they don't put it all back when they're at home. So you want to train them that this is the time everything shuts off and we put everything away, and then we do whatever we have to do. But the junk drawer thing also makes me think of what I would call an e-cleaning. You know how you've got like spring cleaning, and not everybody does things at spring cleaning, but that's supposed to be the time. You can do a quarterly cleaning of your home. You could do a quarterly cleaning of just the drawer, of the junk drawer. You can just, because you're going to clean it up and it'll be nice, but you might have the bad habits of putting it back into that drawer because it's convenient. And I don't know about you, but I don't want my counter. I want to see nothing on my counter. So as soon as my daughter puts something on the counter and I'm in a rush and I've got to go to Taekwondo and I've got this and I've got an appointment, I just slide those things into the junk drawer and I shut the door and I go. And then this is how it comes back to being what it is. So for me, I end up saying, almost on a quarterly basis, I put it in my calendar like it's an important appointment. And I'm going to clean the junk drawer. So it might work for some, it might not work for all, but that's what works for me, so that I can still find the things I want to find. It's amazing. Quarterly, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been looking for this. But that's what happens.
I like that solution. I love that solution. That's awesome. I have a tendency that when there's things where they shouldn't be, like in the kitchen, like you were mentioning, on the counter and random stuff, I kind of just walk them into the room where they're supposed to be and drop them, knowing that my children have to pick them up later and put them back. So then we do end up with like stuff randomly in the path or on the floor that has to be put away at the end of the night, but it's a reminder that it needs to be put away and it's not shoved somewhere random. Okay, so let's dive more into some of the mental content that you had for us tonight.
Okay. I think that when we are involved with clutter, physical clutter, it often reflects our clutter in our brain. Usually your environment reflects what's here. So it might help you if you are struggling with some clutter in certain places. You want to start looking at, like we mentioned earlier, what's going on in your mind. I've learned for myself that when I made a decision to do a detox for myself, and that was a cleanse in your body. When I accomplished the cleanse, when I did that, it felt really good. But what ended up happening is it manifested into me wanting to clear my house. The den I'm in is a den that was loaded to the top with boxes of cardboard boxes of a bunch of things. And my husband brought things in. It was crazy. to be able to get everything out, get our whole house repainted and put certain things back in. Now my daughter has a desk and I've got my desk and everybody's got a place, and it feels really, really great and productive. But I don't know if that would have happened had I not gotten myself to really start my mind to change. And I went through the cleanse of food, and that made my mind think about, I want this to be clean now. I want this to be clean. So I say that, when you have clutter in your house, you tend to end up working in survival mode. And what you should be working at is more the living well mode. You want to live well. I think you deserve it. This is your one and only life. This is your home, whatever home you're in. This is the time where you're supposed to really respect yourself, respect your environment, and show that respect through, here are the items that belong here. Here are the needs. And some of the wants, here's where I'm going to put it, because I respect that you're in it. Not everybody gets the things that you have. So you want to change yourself from living in survival mode where you're opening up a door and like you're scared to even go in the room. You don't want to step in that room because Lord knows of an avalanche or even a closet. You want it to be where everything's free and wonderful and it has its place. It's going to take time to do it, but you can change it from going from survival mode to living well mode really well. And once you do that, you'll gain a sense of calmness in your mind. It will clear up a lot of the sludge that's in your brain. So you'll be calm. You'll end up opening up the sense of freedom. You're going to feel freer in your space, in your mind. And when that happens, you're going to start looking at things differently. You'll start picking more things up and you'll start putting things away, and it'll really start reflecting how your mind feels. So I really feel that if we can try to help ourselves go from that survival mode of yikes to yay, this is great, I love it, it's going to be a very successful feeling for you.
I feel like that would make walking into certain spaces of your home more inviting, more comforting, more uplifting, more peaceful and calm than walking into chaos.
You walk into a cluttered house more like this with, you're kind of slumped and you're like, whatevs. But when you have a home cleared up, you will walk differently. You will walk, I know me, like I put my arms out and I want to walk and spin like, it's the hills are alive with the Sound of Music whole thing. I get really excited when my house is all cleaned up and decluttered. It feels really good. And, it's a reciprocation for your brain. You connect your mind to your environment and you start what's the word I want to say? You want to sketch out how you want to see the change take place. You don't want to say, well, I want the house clean, but I don't know where to begin. Start envisioning how you want to see it. And sometimes if you don't have the vision, get a magazine, start looking at things that could relate to your home. Organization, go to IKEA, go to different department stores and get some ideas of what the vision could look like. You might be able to do the same thing in your home without having to buy a thing. Just a matter of having that perspective change to happen for you.
I love that. So, all right, so let's dive. I'm looking at time. We're good. So let's talk about, I was talking a little bit about food, so I'm going to go there for a minute. If you are one of those people that are like, yes, I have the gas. Yes, I have the bloat after lunch. My pants don't button, or I just got the poop thing going on, right? There are three categories, I guess, of food that you can remove. And if you printed off the meal plan that I put in the group earlier this week and you've been following that, you've already removed them. You probably didn't even realize it, but you've already taken them out. So the first one that I would tell you to remove would be the gluten. And people are like, oh, she's saying that because she's the gluten-free lady, right? Or she's the gluten-free mom. No, there's really a reason why I would remove the gluten. I would remove the gluten because it's one of those things that 1 in 33 people have an intolerance. You're not allergic to it, but you have an intolerance. And when you have an intolerance to it, it causes skin irritation. It causes gastrointestinal bloating. And so if you remove it for 3 weeks and then you only have it occasionally, if you're just an intolerant person, it's not going to bother you as much. The second food that I would remove would be bovine dairy. People are like, what is bovine? Bovine is cow's milk. So I would remove the bovine dairy. You're probably fine with sheep's milk. You're fine with lactose-free stuff. You're probably fine with goat's milk. The reason you want to remove the bovine dairy is because the process in which we now, oh my goodness, I lost the word. Sorry. So when we
Is it
take,
pasteurized?
yes, thank you. When we pasteurize the
Right.
milk now, we are using a different pasteurization process because it's more efficient for the industrial farm. It's cheaper. It's better off for the farmer. They can pasteurize more milk. I get all of it. I understand the money side of it, but what it does is it changes the protein structure of the milk. And they've been doing this for probably the past 3 to 5 years, depending on where you're getting your milk. And it's happening a lot in Wisconsin. So in the Chicago market, we get a lot of the milk that if you actually put the milk under a microscope, the protein within the milk now has a different pattern. So it's like a totally different piece of a jigsaw puzzle. And so that would be the second food I would remove is the cow's milk, whether it's, American cheese. If you're going to get American cheese, go get something that's aged so the lactose is gone, or get European imported cheese. No, I am on the phone. One moment.
I love the mute button. Isn't that great?
I'm like, why did I let the nanny go home early? Please. And then the third food I would remove would be processed sugar, because processed sugar will feed the gut bacteria, good or bad. It will feed it, and the bad gut bacteria likes processed sugar more. So you can go and you can have honey, you can do coconut sugar, you can do maple syrup, agave syrup, but I would remove the processed sugar. And those are the 3 things that if you take them out for about 3 weeks, even if you take them out for 5 days, you're going to know right away, like, hey, my pants buttoned, or I didn't have any extra gas today, or my little headache that seems to bother me all the time at the end of the week is just gone. And at first you're like, I didn't even realize that I had that headache. But I can tell you, after 21 days, your mind connectivity is like on a different wavelength. You're like processing and you're thinking things through, and you're like, I didn't even realize I was this smart. Not to sound cocky, but you get your brain back because it's not weighed down. Back. Yeah, so it's really cool. But those are the 3 food groups and categories that I would take out.
What's your thought about, I'm going to chime in here. What's your thought about, now companies are taking a lot of pride in saying organic and non-GMO, and there's the organic sugar or organic cane sugar. What are your thoughts on that in terms of sugar? Still stay away from that?
Depending on where it's manufactured, organic means different things and has different definitions. So organic in the US means you can still use certain herbicides. You can't really use any pesticides, but you can still use certain herbicides. Organic in Europe and in different countries like Australia and South America is totally, totally different. So if you're buying imported food that's organic, yay. If you're paying extra money for something that's been manufactured in the US that's organic, I would do a lot of investigation into who is the actual corporate owner of a company. Is it still a small mom and pop? Or is it just a subsidiary of Kraft or Nabisco or somebody like that?
Oh, that's good to know. I have no idea about that.
So there's a lot of, and then I'm not going to comment on the GMO right now, because that's a whole other webinar.
It's a whole other show.
All right. So what are like takeaways for you, Anita, that people can, we got the write it down part, but what else can they do to start to get some of that mental clearing? And then what are some of the benefits that they get once that clearing is there?
Thanks for that. What I put together actually is, I'm going to call it a mental cleanse mission. And I will post this tomorrow for you. However, you can feel free to write it down. I'll go ahead and talk about it. There's 10 different things that you can do. And if you can do all of them, then that's fantastic. If you want to do one at a time and do one for a week, and then add another one the following week and add another one, then I so encourage you. The first thing I mentioned earlier is, I'm just going to go with point 1, was get the dump journal. Okay? Get a journal, spiral. You don't have to go fancy. You have no need to go fancy. If you want to, you can. That's your choice. But start writing everything down in that dump journal. Number 2, start a new page and create a gratitude list. I think it's time for your mind to refocus. Now that you've dumped all that stuff out, now we want you to refocus and go into a place of gratitude. You got to find a way to be thankful for every single thing that you've got going on in your life, who you are, where you are, what's going on. Find the gratitude and list it out. And when you do that, it's going to free, believe it or not, it frees your mind. It puts you in a really good, positive, mental thought process that's going to end up having you doing more good things for the rest of the day. Number 3, I'm just saying, take a bubble bath, or, do one of those baths with the essential oils and the bath bombs. I mean, it all sounds so good. And maybe you save it for that one day. No, you know what? Do it now. In fact, after this whole thing, go do it. Just take that bubble bath, because if you can arrange for yourself to have something like that happen, and when I say this, it means there's no interruption. So you arrange it so that there is no interruption. This is you time. This is time for you to sit in the silence, maybe play something soft and easy. Just get your mind to be clear and give yourself the silence that you should be able to hear your heartbeat and feel really good that you took that time out for yourself, because Lord knows you need to regenerate those wonderful cells to get powerful. And it can't get powerful if it's working on overtime. It needs to rest. So the next one is number 4. I wrote create designated times. It's going to be tough. Create designated times to go on social media and times that you're off of social media. You don't want to do it. You just have to be able to go away from it. It's hard to do. I know. I get it, because we all have a habit of who's doing what. Scroll, scroll, scrolly, scroll, scroll. But if you can get out of that rhythm for a moment, that's self-discipline. If you can show yourself a sense of self-control, because this stuff is like, this social media is almost as addictive as sugar. So if you can try to designate, and you say, maybe after this time at night, I'm not doing any more, I'm off the grid. And you should be proud of being off the grid, because that's showing self-respect to your time. Number 5, commit to no complaining. Very hard if you're a Chicagolandian, because we have weather that just makes us so gripey. But let's try to talk about focusing on encouraging thoughts, good words. If you have nothing nice to say, then don't say it at all. Remember all that, what you heard as a kid? So commit to no complaining. Do your best. Do your best. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. But work on trying to spend your time, your dialogue being good and supportive and just good stuff. Number 6, create a favorite playlist. Oh, I love a good playlist with the songs that make me happy.
Did you make a playlist on cassette tapes, Anita?
I remember, I totally did. I would tape record the songs off of the radio so you could hear the DJ still, and I'm like, no. But that's what we did. You have to create your own playlist,
and it works. So that's why we still do it.
I will still do it. I will still do it. And it just makes me happy. I've got all sorts of playlists, but create a new one. Maybe create one that starts for who you are today and what you want to have in your life. It might have a mixture of songs, whatever it is, but create that, because it's your creation. So it should feel really, really great to have that in your different collection of songs. And let the songs be the songs that make you happy. It's not about going back in time and woeing over sad moments. You want to put songs on there that are truly inspirational and make you happy. Number, where am I? 7? The next number, the next point, unfollow those who don't inspire you on social media. I didn't say defriend them, and I didn't say block them. I simply said unfollow. They're still your friends. But you know what? If they're talking about things that are very unsavory, they're having their issues and problems, but they're maybe just attracting other people to feel sorry for them, whatever their story is. If it just doesn't sit well with you, click, click, unfollow it. You're still friends with them. You can always talk to them through message if you want to see how they're doing, but you don't need to see the news feeds. If maybe you don't like the political commentaries that they're saying, unfollow it. That's okay. But when you unfollow it, I'm saying this because I've done it. I've had to do it because I've said to myself that my mind needs to wake up in the morning and see news that matters to me, that influences me, that energizes me, that makes me smile, that makes my heart feel touched. That's how I designed my Facebook page. I love to design my page so that it fits my personality and makes me feel good when I'm done. If I go on a page that I've set up to be miserable, I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to want to talk back to somebody. I want to make a comment. That's not the whole point of my existence on this planet. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I want to have good times and good memories. So make sure that you try, unfollow the ones that are irritating you. You're going to see a difference the next time you start going on Facebook. It'll look cleaner. Your brain will go, I don't hear that complaint anymore. This is great. And they're still your friends. They just don't know that you unfollowed them. The next point is drink water and eat cleaner, which I know Tiffany is like guru of this. Drink. Look at my glass. Look at this. Okay, first of all, isn't it adorable with the muggles and everything?
Yeah, super
right?
cute.
All water, and I was a woman who hated water because my parents did not give me water because when they're Indian, and in India the water is like you got to get it, then you got to boil it, then you got to it's a process. So they didn't want to even worry about when they came here as immigrants, and I was born here. They were like, don't drink the water, just have this drink, just have 7-Up, grape juice, Kool-Aid, which was made with water. But I had to learn. Last year was the year I got connected to water. Last year. I'm 45. 44 years without water as a staple, and I started. So drink that water. It does help. It's changed my skin complexion. It's helped me lose weight. It's been wonderful. Believe it or not, it's really cleaned me out in so many ways. And eat cleaner. And she's, Tiffany's a great resource on how to eat cleaner. She knows the things that work for your body. This is everything she's talking about is about eating cleaner. And then finally, okay, because I'm like, what did I say? I wrote this very, very quickly. At the end of the day and in the beginning of the morning, you want to have that cleansing breath. So I'm going to go at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's decompressing. You've done so much in the day. You need to unwind. You've done everything you could. You've been a warrior of a mother. You just rock it, right? Sit down in your nice, awesome bed. Take a moment out. Close your eyes. Put your hands on your knees as comfortable as you can. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your head up a little bit and breathe real slowly in and take all that really good air in and throw out with your mouth open. Just exhale all that. If you can envision the color of the breath, envision the exhaling breath to be like brown or green or that ick color. And the breath that you take in with your nose is like this iridescent, pretty, like sparkly white air that comes from the Lord above. So you want to have those kind of powers. Just go ahead and decompress yourself and sleep 30 minutes before you normally do. Get yourself to bed 30 minutes before you normally do. If you normally go to bed at 10 o'clock, then go for 9:30. I know it's crazy, but if you can do it, if you get your kids to bed, try it. Try 30 minutes before. And all that means is that you're getting yourself ready to rest. And you might surprise yourself, when you knock on your soul's door and say, hey, it's time to go to bed, your soul might actually say, okay. So it's worth trying. So those are the challenges, and I'll post all of this for you easily tomorrow so that you can see it and, do what you like with it, keep it on your phone. But I think that if any of these inspire you, then you should take that challenge. And you know what? You should do it for 21 days. I mean, why not?
21 days, it creates a new habit. It detoxifies your body. 21 days does a lot of stuff. It actually even shuts off antibody production for certain things that you might have an allergy to if you remove it for 21 days. It is truly, like 21 days is kind of, it's a body number. There's a lot that happens in your body in that time. So I like you tying that back, Anita. Awesome. All right. So I'm trying to think. Oh, I was curious about, so we talked about like the 10 things. We talked about the 3 precursor kind of signals, right? What What do you get when there's no stress in life? What do you find more of? Did we lose you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
You're asking me? I'm
I'm
waiting for
asking
answers from the
you.
crew.
You're waiting for answers.
I thought that there were people answering. I'm waiting for them to
No,
answer.
I wish
That's so
they
funny.
would, but nobody said it. Oh, Janelle recently said that she threw out a crap load of newspapers and it felt wonderful, and she wondered why she'd had them to begin with.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
Okay, well, if you want me to answer, then gosh, I have a lot of things that I go through. I mentioned earlier, I first feel a sense of freedom. I kind of see myself going, oh, that's good, because to me, if you've got a closet that's so loaded with a bunch of stuff and you actually go in there, you pull your sleeves up, you go in there, you take everything out. Once it's out and you look back at it again, it's this open space, and it should free your heart and your mind, because visually it matches with what your mind is looking for. And your mind is looking for a pattern, but it doesn't want to be all over scattered. It wants to have clean patterns to be able to go from one thing to the next thing very easily. So I'll say there's a sense of freedom that I feel, a sense of joy. I really feel joy. Janelle, when you threw those magazines out, there's some element of joy that took place. You're like, done. And then you go back in the house, it's not there anymore. That's a great feeling. I don't feel a sense of loss when those things take place. I feel a sense of freedom, joy. I feel calm. And you know what? I feel clarity. Because I suddenly, we all know, or maybe not all, but most of us might have heard of Peter Walsh, the clean sweep guy from TLC. He's someone that, if you understand the way that he worked, and in case anyone's never seen him, he has a show called Clean Sweep a long time ago. I don't know how many years ago. It must have been like 5, 6, 10. I don't know. I loved him. He's someone who, the way he works was take everything out of the house. These are people that may have been hoarders. They've kept everything. They have a hard time getting rid of it. Somebody passed away, and suddenly it's like they want to cling on to things and go buy more things because they're just trying to keep themselves busy, and their house gets more into a hoarding type of a home. Well, they get a crew of people eventually. This is a long story in short. They get a crew of people to come into the home and clear the entire home out, so that you can actually look into your home and see what needs to really be put in there. While everything is out, they set up, I'm going to say they stage different areas where here's what you want to get rid of, here's what you want to give away, here's what you want to sell, and here's what you want to throw out. It's just actually garbage. And when you have that way of compartmentalizing all the things that you own, and you start making those decisions that, I don't need this in my life. You have a limited amount of years. I hate to say this, but it's true. We all know that we're not immortal. It would be nice if we were, but we're not. So you're limited in your years, and you want to make your years really quality and worthwhile. And that means you don't want to have those things occupying your space and your time. So when they go back into that house and they see it's empty, and you know that now you have the things that you've chosen to stay in the house, now you can go and put those things back in. So that whole feeling of clarity happens. You can clearly see that this is how the house is, after all that clutter was removed. So I know the feeling. I had to do this for my own house, in a sense that we're not hoarders, but we had a lot of stuff, and we outgrew our home, and we had to have our house repainted. So when we did that, to remove everything out of the room gave us the clarity to say, we don't need these things. This is what we need. And it turned our place into a much more functional, enjoyable, free kind of a place for us to enjoy and do what we need to do. So that's what I would say. I mean, the clarity, freedom, joy, and being calm.
Yeah, I think clarity for sure. Joy. I also think that creates space for you to manifest yourself to whatever it is that next level is, because with that clarity, it creates the room for you to grow.
That's right.
So yes. All right, we're coming to a close for the evening. I I want you to tell people how to find you online in case they have more questions or in case they want to reach out.
Well, there's so many ways you could reach me, but first I'll give you my phone number, which you can text me if you're interested in just having a conversation and navigating your thoughts on some of the things you might want to do a little bit more in terms of your mindset and getting yourself to that place where you can really rev up your mental engines and get to a higher level. You can contact me at 847-571-4710. Online, you can find me under my business name, which is Innerscope Consulting, and it's spelled INNERSCOPE and the word consulting. And my website is also the same name, innerscopeconsulting.com. And you can find me in any of those, connect with me there. And of course, you can always talk to Tiffany and say, hey, what's Anita's contact information? I'm sure she'll be happy to give it to you too.
I will definitely share. So if you have not found me, or you still need to find me because we are posting these later to YouTube next week, then there's somebody yelling again in the background about rabbits. Sorry. Then you can find me at gfmomcertified.com online or any social media outlet under gfmomcertified. So, all right. I'm trying to think any last things before we go for the evening. We are back here tomorrow night. We're doing Thursday night, tomorrow night, same time, 8 o'clock. And we are talking about scheduling and making it all fit in, because we've talked about this week kind of getting your joy back. We talked about a lot of stuff, and so we're going to talk about kind of fitting it all into the mom schedule, everything that you want to fit back in. And then the other thing I will share later is I will share, and Anita, you probably have these too, but I can share one breathing sequence with you to kind of help you find your center again if you get stressed. And it takes like 2 minutes, and then you're kind of recentered. So you can kind of reshift your focus and kind of, pay attention to what needs to happen in the moment and not what's going on all over everywhere else. So I will share a breathing sequence with you tomorrow. I'll do that in the morning. I'll put it in a graphic and share that as well. But if there's resources you're looking for and you're like, boy, I was hoping to get this, or I was hoping to get that, and you haven't seen them this week, let us know. Let me know what you're looking for, because if we don't have it available, I can help you figure out where to get it. Or maybe it's, you need to have a consult with one of our experts we've had this week to get that information you're looking for. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, I signed up for this and I thought I was going to get this, and then you didn't get whatever it was you wanted. Let me know what that gap is so we can address that, okay? Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Anita, so much for jumping on tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great evening.
Bye. Love you.